Hi, I'm Linda Kubota Byrd, and this is my friend Elizabeth HeartStar. And we're both astrologers and also people who loved working with stargates. So we feel called to share these important planetary updates during this turbulent time, I guess you could call it. And so Elizabeth's just going to share a little bit about how we met and why we're called to do this.
Hello, I'm Elizabeth HeartStar. Linda and I met about almost 5 years ago at an astrology conference and felt an affinity right away. Later in that year, we stayed in touch, and I've been working with what I call a stargate, which is a 12 pointed star. I call it the Avalon template. I've been working a lot in Glastonbury, England, the ancient land of Avalon. And the 12 pointed star, the actual Stonehenge, is built on this pattern. So when we met and she said she did Stargate work, I wasn't quite sure of what that meant. We didn't talk a lot about that, but I had an experience a couple years later, a 3-day out of body experiences of where I felt like I was being taken through stargates, portals, wormholes. I felt guided that it was the energy of Saint Germain and his Merlin aspect, who I've been very aware of working with in Glastonbury, England for 25 years. And the last day of the third day, I was being taken over Stonehenge, looking down and being told a Stargate ceremony is being done. And I was being drawn to a woman that was doing it that looked kind of like me, but I knew it wasn't myself. And when I came back into my body after this incredible experience, I thought, oh, that's Linda Byrd, because we're both short and I used to have more darker hair. And she told me she did Stargate. And so I phoned and told her about the experience I had. And she said, oh, I feel like we're to be doing this Stargate in Stonehenge. Oh, and I was told that there would be 12 people doing the Stargate. And within a couple months, the 12 people came together for what we named the Stargate Merlin. You can look at stargatemerlin.com. Since that time, Linda and I speak together often, and the other day we were talking on Zoom about Neptune being in Pisces and how important and how special that we're alive when Neptune is in Pisces, because it takes 164 years to go around the zodiac, and it stays in Pisces or in a sign for often up to 14 or so years. So here we are. It started in 2011, right before 2012, that Neptune, and Neptune is known as also the higher octave of Venus, where Venus is close to the Earth. So it's the Earth love, the human love, the beauty and attraction and harmony. And Neptune is the higher octave, so it has to do with, as Pisces is, the cosmic consciousness, the cosmic ocean that all is contained within. So it's the divine love, and it's the ability to go into other realms and other dimensions. So both of us have been guided to working with these stargates and these other dimensional energies, which I know a lot of people on the planet are experiencing, that we're not alone in this billion galaxy universe that we live in, and how exciting to know that we have the ability to raise our consciousness to these other dimensions, and which Neptune in Pisces is bringing us this gift. So we were just talking, and I think it was I that said, I feel like people need to hear what we're talking about. So we decided to talk to one another and share our excitement about this opportunity we have to bring in a new consciousness at this time, that it's a really special time, and that Neptune in Pisces hasn't been spoken about a lot recently. And so that's what started this conversation and updating and sharing that we feel called to do.
So Elizabeth was guided by Merlin, who she's been in contact with or has been her guide for many years. And Merlin had told her that we were to open a stargate portal in Stonehenge on the Uranus ingress. For you non-astrologers, that means when Uranus went into Taurus. And so many things have been going on in preparation for this big conjunction that we've just experienced, this Saturn-Pluto conjunction, which we all know is Saturn is structure and government and those kinds of things. And Pluto is transformation. So if you know any astrologers, you'll know that we've been talking about this big thing coming up. And nobody could really say exactly what was going to happen, but we knew that there was going to be a breakdown of the old in order for something new to come up and for the phoenix to rise. And so we're obviously in the breakdown stage, but what we haven't really, as Elizabeth just mentioned, haven't really factored in is that we have Neptune in Pisces, which is its natural sign. Neptune rules Pisces. And so this brings in a whole different energy of spiritual support, you could call it. And so with the stargates, we have the ability to actually to move into different dimensions, into different realms, and to work with the star beings who, and many of us believe that we all came from the stars. So there's like our ancestors who are here to help the world, the planet Earth and humanity to transform into a higher consciousness. And so Elizabeth and I thought, well, if we just have a conversation, talk about these things, including the wisdom that comes from the timing of astrology, that perhaps we can help people to be more hopeful and to understand that everything is happening for a reason, that this is not the end of the world. It may be the end of the world as we knew it, which might not be a bad thing, and that we're evolving as a species into something much more conscious, much more loving, much more inclusive, to be connected to the oneness of not only each other, but the animal kingdom and the plant kingdom, because we're all one. So Elizabeth's going to share a little bit about why we chose to launch or to talk to you at this time. So Elizabeth, do you want to share about the new moon chart you just ran?
Yeah, the full moon chart, which is today being 5/5, which is a special day, and the first day of the full moon being a 5-day cycle of the buildup, which is starting today on the 5th, and it will be exact on the 7th, this Thursday, and then the 2 days after it's waning. And so we felt, because this full moon is also a very special full moon known as the Wesak full moon. And in the East, it's celebrated as the festival of the Buddha. And when the spiritual energies are built up, and where the Buddhic energy and the Christ consciousness energy unite and send rays of love and light upon the planet at this full moon, and help humanity to evolve and to attain enlightenment. So we felt this is a really special time. And also it's a challenging time for so many on the planet with what is taking place. We decided to come in bringing in hope and faith, which is Neptune, and belief, and knowing that the evolution of the planet and humanity is what's taking place right now. And often with birth, there is some pain and challenge as the changes take place. So we come in great hope and want to work together, for it takes a big percentage of people to awaken and to work together to bring in this new age that we're bringing in, as we're on that, going into the age of Aquarius, a really special time, a time of unity and working together and bringing in new awakenings and understandings and new consciousness of like the quantum field and how we are all connected. And so many exciting, wonderful things are taking place on the planet right now, and we don't hear a lot of them in the news. All these wonderful discoveries of the quantum and resonant unified field, like Nassim Haramein, who's just a wonderful channel, and Bruce Lipton with the epigenetics, and knowing that we can change things, and our bodies are incredible. We are the earth. This is our mother. We are earth as well as starborn, for it's with the planets and the stars that we're part stardust. So that's our calling, to bring back this joy and faith in that this can be a really beautiful and exciting time. And we know that there's a lot of suffering. So, a lot of prayers go out to those that are very challenged at this time, but great hope to know that things are going to change radically. Neptune will be in Pisces until 2026. So we have this 6 years, to envision and to manifest a new reality that's going to support the people and life on the planet.
So the importance of today being May 5th, 2020, is because the nodes of the moon are changing signs. So they've been in Capricorn Cancer for the last year and a half or so. They stay in the same sign for 18 months. And is it 18 months?
Yes.
Yeah, 1 year. Yeah, 1 year, 6 months. And when they change signs, everything changes. So do you want to explain that a little bit further, Elizabeth?
Okay. The nodes of the moon, if you don't know about them, that they have to do with the eclipse cycles that happen for those 18 months. So they're kind of the story of the moon. It's the story of our collective, because eclipse cycles are catalysts for evolution. The eclipse cycles begin at the South or the North Pole and take between 12 and 1500 years for that cycle to complete itself. And so there are many timelines going on right now, and they have to do with these eclipse cycles. And the eclipses have been in the signs, as Linda said, in the South Node, which has to do with where we've been, the past, and in Capricorn, and Capricorn being an earth sign ruled by Saturn, it has a lot to do with building foundations and structures in life that support life, that are sustainable. So, you know, the workings of the governments and everything that's the foundations in our life that really support life. And the North Node, which is always opposite, is in the sign of Cancer, which is the sign ruled by the moon, which has to do with the home, the family, the tribe, being fed and nourished. And, you know, so it's been interesting that towards this end of the cycle, as Linda said, today and tomorrow, it's shifting into the signs of Gemini and Sagittarius. But Cancer, as I said, has to do with home. And at the end of this collective cycle, we are being sent home. Everyone's being sent home, you know. And what is home? And, you know, and the opposite, where there have been many planets in Capricorn, is, you know, we can't just rely on the government, but, you know, what kind of structures that we, the people, which is Aquarius, need, what foundations and structures to support and feed the family, the children, the mother, the home. And so this being sent home to allow our Earth Mother to breathe. You know, as people have heard, there's clean air in Los Angeles and other places, and dolphins coming back. And our Mother Earth knows how to heal herself just as we do when we listen to our nature. For her nature and our nature are one. Mm-hmm. So I think that's been a big, important 18-month cycle.
And preparation.
Yes.
I would say preparation, because it's like I said, it's not the end of the world. We're moving into a new time or a new era. And the ending of the Capricorn ways, the government, we all can see, is not exactly highly functional. And so we're needing to, in some ways, we're calling this a pause. Earth has come to a pause. All of humanity has come to a pause in order to reset. But our intention is to help to reset the world from a conscious, more loving place. So, and that's with this changing of the nodal axis, we're coming to a time where we can make a difference, or the energy is ripe for this change to occur and for us to instigate or to plant the seeds for what we want our future to look like. So we'll be talking about the Sagittarius Gemini axis. So,
and also one other important aspect that's taking place this year is that there will be 6 eclipse cycles instead of the usual 4, which doesn't happen often. And it really has a lot to do with endings of old timelines and the birthing of new timelines. And we have the ability to create a new consciousness. I believe the last time a new eclipse was born, through the energies of the sun, the moon, and the earth. That's how eclipses manifest. It's a geometric dance. Was on July 1st of 2011. And so looking at this is the halfway point of that new eclipse cycle, saying, what are we going to create now?
Right. And that's where it's up to us. And what's really important is we're aware of the quantum field. The quantum field is the energy where there is no time or space, and where we can create from. And I'm sure if you're listening to this, especially this far into it, that you're aware that we can create with our thoughts. And so it's very important for us to be aware of what we are thinking, to not feed the fear, which is hard not to do because we get fed a steady diet of fear by the media, but to really drop into our hearts and to come from a place of deeper knowing. And so this is where we find that the guidance through the astrology and what comes through the stargate gives us a map, you might say, for how we're moving forward and how we can work with these energies to actually help to consciously create something very beautiful. And my belief is that we heed these messages that are coming through now and we work with these energies, then we don't have to have harder messages, harder events to kind of force us into this growth, because we are changing, whether we like it or not. And if we move with that energy, we can create this change quite gracefully through conscious intention. So that is my hope, and that's why we're sharing this information with you.